Hello and welcome back to Two Fools Making It. This is Darius Torana, and I'm here with Darkspring again. And we're
Hello.
going to be talking about Warhammer 3 Total War today. Um, both of us are quite big fans of this game. Sometimes, no, we're always fans. It's just a hard game for sure. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, I absolutely adore Warhammer 3. I'm not a fan of it over the last 2 weeks as I've been getting my butt kicked on the campaign, but I do adore the game overall.
Yeah, I'm doing a Belagar campaign right now, and I was doing so good, and then I got caught with my pants down. I'm like getting my butt kicked now.
So I've been doing
So, oh,
uh,
go ahead.
conquer the entire map for all my Total Wars that I've always said I'd do. So my faction has to control the entire map. And I have restarted that campaign. I'm now on my fourth restart because I'll get absolutely huge, and then I'll get ganged up on by about six factions. I can't fight that many, and I'm slowly just getting whittled down. And so then I'll rage quit.
Yeah. I have not taken that on yet. My plan is to do a short victory, the long victory, and then do the domination victory. So it's gonna be an experience, that's for sure.
I haven't even completed
So
short victories on those. I've been getting
yeah.
pumped.
Yeah, I did one where I was gonna do the Beastmen, and oh my gosh, I got through those short victory conditions super quick because the Beastmen you just have to raise 30 settlements and that's it.
Yeah. You can let people
But yes,
resettle it and then just go burn it again.
yeah. So one of the things I wanted to start off with is I'm a lot newer to the Total War community, and well, actually Warhammer too than you are. But I'm a lot newer to the War or Total War community. Um, I started. I think you started me on Shogun, but then we quickly switched over to Three Kingdoms, and then switched over to the Warhammer ones. Um,
And that was
and
Shogun
I
2, just
saw,
to clarify.
yeah, Shogun 2. Um, there there's a lot of controversy between like fantasy versus the real stuff. And I'll be honest, I don't understand it because I like the fantasy stuff. Like one of my favorite games that I've played was Battle for Middle Earth, and it was like a RTS Lord of the Rings game, and that was just super cool. And Total War Warhammer reminds me of that a lot. Um, why do you think there's so much controversy?
Okay, so just for everybody out there, I am an OG Total War player. I started playing Total War back in the early 2000s. Excuse me. When Shogun 1 came out with their Warlord expansion, is when I started my Total War journey. I did take a break for probably 5 or 6 years, and then Rome 2 got me back into the series. Uh, so before Warhammer was there, it was nothing but historical Total Wars. And then they dipped their toe into Warhammer 1, and it kind of changed the formula of the game so that you weren't just doing historical battles. The units stayed around a lot longer. You also had lords and heroes that could tank more, uh, just different factions. Nobody thought they really could pull it off. Well, some people did. I didn't play too much of Warhammer 1. I really jumped in after they got to Warhammer 2 and what do they call that one? Mortal Empires came out. That's when I really got into it. But some people think it ruined the formula of the game. Uh, I think there is a spot for both of the franchises. Now, we haven't seen near as much historicals put out since they focused so much on Warhammer. That definitely was a business decision. So I think some people really feel hurt that so much time and effort got put into Warhammer versus a really strong historical release. And a lot of people also consider kind of the high time of Total War, like the golden period, to be around like Shogun 2, let's see what, and Rome 2 kind of released, and then it kind of started going downhill for them in that case. I disagree with it because I absolutely adore Three Kingdoms. And I also had fun with Pharaoh. Definitely not my favorite by far, but I definitely had a lot of fun with that one. So I can see why some people are kind of like, oh, we need to get back to the roots. But they are coming out with Medieval 3, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one too. For me, I mean, I've always been a big fantasy person. I love history. That's actually I want to go to college and get a degree in history. I think that would be super cool. But like I'm a big fantasy guy, like we talked about in our first episode. I love fantasy. So the Warhammers, I have all three of those now, and then Three Kingdoms is my other favorite. And honestly, I didn't even realize that one was considered a fantasy before Dark pointed that out to me because it is the romance of the Three Kingdoms, and like Lubu can take on an entire army by himself, and I was like, that makes
Kind of
sense.
like fantasy. It was where I
Yeah,
kind of put it. A
yeah,
historical novel, kind of. I
yeah,
don't quite know how to
yeah.
put it that way.
Now, I so with our favorite factions, again, you've played all of these a lot more than me. So mine is kind of a so far. I don't know if you've played all the factions in Warhammer 3 yet. I definitely have not, but I kind of want to talk about our favorite factions from both the Order and Chaos sides. So, if you had to pick one faction in Order, which one would you say is your absolute favorite?
Piles. That's
High Elves?
nothing. Piles. I do
Okay.
adore Cathay because I do enjoy Chinese slash Japanese kind of history. But High Elves is where I started, and that's where I usually end up back at.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. For me, it's everyone knows that if they've watched my channel at all, I'm a big dwarf guy. I love dwarves, and in Warhammer 3, the dwarves are so much fun. Like in fact, I think they're the only Order faction that I've really played at all, aren't they? I'm trying to think of any other Order factions that I've played.
I
I
can't
can't.
think of a
Oh,
type.
Lizardmen. I
Oh,
played Lizardmen.
well, Lizardmen are kind of neutral.
Yeah, yeah.
They lean towards that, but
Yeah. But yeah, dwarves are my favorite. And of the heroes for dwarves, I think Belagar is probably my favorite because I love his campaign of like retaking the peaks. Either him or I can never remember his name, but the Slayer King. He is so much fun too.
I can't think of his name. I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of
Yeah.
what his name is.
It's like Orgrim or something like that. Um, so for Chaos, it is a toss up for me. I've played quite a few Chaos factions now. It's either the Norska or the Beastmen. The Beastmen are a great starting point. If you want a good starting army just to learn how to do the battles and stuff like that, the Beastmen are very uncomplicated and they get free armies. They're great. Norska has again, it has to do with like their campaign with all the beast hunts and everything. I just think they are just so much fun.
Oh, for me, for Chaos, it would either have to be Beastmen, just because I love the look of the units. I like thinking of it. Oh, I'm hiding out in the wilds and then coming out and attacking settlements. But I think
Mhm.
my true favorite is going to be Warriors of Chaos, specifically Archon. I think his faction's a whole lot of fun. I just enjoy having vassals in games, and so I really enjoy using his stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you
Yeah,
had to
that
pick one of the Chaos gods, which one are you picking?
I'm always picking corn. I am learning more because corn to me was like he was my first introduction to the chaos gods, and I thought he was like really cool, and I was like, oh man, big, giant demon like that fights a ton, and I'm a big melee fighter type. So yeah, he was my first. However, I'm learning more about the Chaos Gods because I've been learning a lot about the lore for like the Warhammer and Warhammer 40K, and learning more about the lore. I'm starting to lean a little bit towards Zinch because he's pretty neat too, but I don't particularly like magic, so I'm like, he doesn't really work for me.
That works. I just like corn because I like the melee troops. I like the look of the units, and that's
Hmm.
my just where
Yeah,
I enjoy.
Nurgle's also surprisingly neat. Like his troops look disgusting, so I don't think I could ever like enjoy his faction, but like his lore is pretty cool.
He actually is the one chaos god that cares the most about his followers too. So you
Yeah,
have that.
yeah, yeah. So there is a DLC coming up that I saw some spoilers on. What have you seen anything on it?
Which DLC are you talking about? Are you talking about the end times, or are you talking about the Lord of Cathay DLC?
I think it's the end times one because it has like a bunch of like chaos heroes and just the units for everybody coming out.
Yeah, I've watched their hours worth of spoilers for that DLC.
What do you think of that? Like what are your thoughts on it so far?
So I'm hoping that it works out the way in my mind. I've hyped it up really high in my mind because the end time invasion in Warhammer 2, I loved the idea of it and how there was two waves of it, and at the very end you also could tweak with the legendary or with the difficulty of the end times or turn it off. The problem I always found was unless you were physically playing as Archon, they got smoked regardless if was playing a faction where I could ally with them. After they started hitting like level 30 heroes from like the Empire, their armies were just gone and it completely fell apart. So if in the new one, if they can get all of the chaos factions together and they're going to fight and they'll actually be a world threat, I am actually really excited. The only problem that I foresee with this that could have a problem is especially as I'm doing my making huge empires around the map, I've noticed hardly any order factions ever survive. So I'm a little worried with an end game crisis where it's like, oh, let's bring all of the chaos factions together that they're already going to pretty much wiped all the order factions out. That's the only thing I can see that would be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've listened to like a ton of lore on the end times, and I've only seen a few videos on like a couple of the units and stuff, and they look super cool, and like the lords that they've spoiled look super cool. So like really excited about that, but just playing the end times and like fighting that and trying to like fight it as order, I think will be just super fun.
Or you could
Like
also play, hopefully, you'll be able to play as the end times as well. I'm hoping that you get to play
yeah.
chaos factions too, because that's probably where I'm going to spend most of my time is destroying the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's entirely fair. I do enjoy playing as an evil army and just taking over. So, yeah. So, to kind of change topics now. So, we've talked about that. We wanted to talk a little bit about like what our other like focus for this podcast was going to be, which is kind of mental health slash, what people may be feeling during certain times of their lives. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like your high school experience, mine, and like kind of where you fit in there. So in high school, what role did you have? Like did you have like a certain clique that you hung out with? Like did you have a lot of friends, a little bit of friends? Like kind of where were you?
Well, I definitely was not the popular guy by any means. Uh, I had probably, oh, we'll say 5 or 6 pretty good friends. I was friends with them from pretty much 1st and 2nd grade all the way through high school. Some of them did rotate out, and then I probably had another and acquaintances that I kind of hung out with every now and then. But I was definitely the shy kid. I did not talk a lot. I was pretty short too for the longest time. Let's say my sophomore year, I was like 5'2", so I got picked on quite a bit for being really skinny, really short until my junior year when I started shooting up and started getting more height and more filled out. But I definitely was my role was just to try and graduate. It
Yeah.
wasn't anything special. I'm not athletic. I was not smart enough to be a valedictorian, and Yeah, my role was I was there, but I didn't cause trouble, but I didn't stand out at all.
Yeah. So mine, I grew up in a really small town. Like it was a small Mormon town, and so um, it kind of shifted a little bit. So at the beginning of my high school, a lot of the parents loved me. And then I left the Mormon church when I was 16, and all of a sudden, all those parents were like, "Oh, he's terrible. Don't ever hang out with him." So that was fun to deal with. But I was one of those people who like I made friends with a couple people from a lot of different cliques. Um, so like I had a couple goth friends, I had a couple like I didn't really have any jock friends, but I had friends who were friends with the jocks. And obviously I was a huge nerd, so I had tons of nerd friends. No, not tons, but I had a few nerd friends. And again, I was similar to you where I had a couple very, very good friends, like probably two or three really good friends, and then a few acquaintances. But I was one of the people that like I'd stand up for other people. I did not know how to fight though. And so I would stand up for people and then I'd get my butt kicked. So yeah, I definitely that's kind of where I was at, but similar to you where I wasn't like I was smart, but I wasn't like smart enough to be the valedictorian. I didn't even graduate high school. I ended up getting my GED. And that was mostly because I wanted to be an author, so I didn't care that much about school itself because to me it didn't matter because I wasn't going to go to college. I didn't need to get into a good college. I was just going to become an author. So I would spend all night writing and then I would sleep through most of the classes, wouldn't do my homework. That was actually my big downfall is I wouldn't do my homework and then I'd pass all the tests, but in high school, homework is 99% of your grade. So um, yeah, I ended up I was a fifth year senior and then ended up dropping out during that year because I was just falling into the same habits. Um, I ended up waiting like years to get my GED, and then my sister convinced me to go get my GED, and she told me the best way to do it is just go in, take the test, and then you can retake the like any of the stuff that you missed up to I think it was three times, and you don't have to pay again unless you fail it all of those times. So I could go in, take it, study for what I needed. Well, I went in and took it, and I passed everything. So yeah, it worked out there. But I definitely when I was in high school, while I did stand up for other people, I didn't necessarily care when people made fun of me. I was also the opposite of you when it came to height. I stopped growing in eighth grade. I am the same height that I was in eighth grade, which I'm about almost 5'11". So like I was a big kid, and now I'm a short adult. Um, um, but I have had depression issues like since probably middle school. I got misdiagnosed as bipolar, and I was taking medications that made me gain a lot of weight. And it made me feel very bad about myself. And it's taken me a long time to come to terms with like who I am. But I was probably I was probably 29, 30 years old when I realized like I actually am proud of who I am. Like I'm still overweight. I'm working on losing weight right now, but like I'm still overweight and but even with the extra weight, I've gotten married. I have a wonderful wife and I've got a job that I really enjoy. And while I haven't like gotten my dream of becoming a pub. Actually, that's not true. I am a published author. I have one short story published, but I have made $3 off of that. So yeah, it's $3 I wouldn't have had, but I am a published author, but I haven't like gotten a big book published. So I haven't done that, but I work with animals and I love working with animals. And I do, I supervise at a facility where we clean up after all the animals and stuff, which is to me very zen work. A lot of people don't like it, but it's very zen work for me. So I enjoy my job. I I had when I was living in Oklahoma, I built a life from the ground up for myself from nothing. And while, yes, I've had a huge setback very recently where I had to move back to Arizona and everything, I feel like I've gained the skills necessary that I'm rebuilding a lot quicker and I'm able to put my life back together again. And I'm proud of who I've become. And I kind of wanted to know like your thoughts on like how you felt about yourself then too. Like how were you in high school like mental health wise? What did you think?
Oh, that is a hard one. I'm trying to think. Like, I know I
Yeah.
definitely wasn't more. I guess I'm just gonna kind of say neutral. I've got
Hmm.
several learning disabilities, so I didn't quite realize everything that was quite the problem at the time. So I definitely realized I had a lot of issues. I didn't read until probably eighth grade.
Okay.
It was bad. Like, everybody would be writing stuff down, just practicing words. I'd just copy it down, but I didn't know what it said. So
Okay.
it was really bad. It wasn't until my parents got me to some special tutors and did a bunch of other things that it actually started to work. And because that put me so far behind that I just didn't quite realize some things. I also had we'll call him acquaintance. He was a really good friend when I was growing up. And
Hmm.
this guy was the rock star of the football team, the rock star of the basketball team. He was the all around jock kid that everybody wanted to be. Well,
Yeah.
because I was friends with him up until I was probably 8 or 9, he told everybody that would make fun of me to shut up, and he actually beat a couple of them up. So I got left alone a lot from a lot of people because he was friends with all of them. So
Okay.
I just didn't get picked on like as much as I had some of my other friends get picked on. As we were discussing that later, I was like, wow, I didn't go through half what you guys went through. So, but I didn't ever get attention from any girls. I did, so it was very neutral. So I didn't have a lot of self confidence because it was working, but I wasn't getting crushed all the time either. Um, I did have anxiety. I've had anxiety for forever, so I just hid a lot to kind of counteract that. So that was
Okay.
kind of more or less my experience going through high school. And I am a horrible test taker, but I spent a ton of time on the homework, so I was able to pass doing that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely had a very similar experience with the ladies avoiding me. Um, my mom would always tease me like, "Oh, she had such a crush on you," but no, they didn't. Um,
I think I had
I
like two
remember,
girls in high school that liked me, and I had zero
yeah,
interest in them. So
yeah, I remember there was this one girl. She so in my high school because we were such a small school, sophomores could go to prom, and I'm trying to remember if I think it was my sophomore year prom, but like I was going to ask this other girl to prom and I was very excited. And this other girl was one of my, not great friends, but like we were friends. And so I was like trying to get her to help me with how to ask this girl, but she kept avoiding me. And I was like, what the heck? Why is she avoiding me? So finally I, got her. We were on a project together in our journalism class, and I went up to her and I was like, "Hey, like, why are you avoiding me? What is going on?" She's like, "I'm scared you're going to ask me to prom." I was like, "I'm not going to ask you to prom. Like, no, I want to ask this other girl to prom. I need your help." And she's like, "Oh," so like she helped me devise this strategy to ask her to prom, and then come to find out, the other girl had gotten asked already, and then I was like thinking like, "Oh man, I really want to go to prom, but I don't want to go by myself. Like, who can I ask?" I ended up asking the girl who would have been avoiding me, my friend. We ended up going. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, it was really funny.
yeah, I didn't go to prom. I didn't go to senior ball. I didn't do any of that stuff. I asked a couple of girls. I got told no.
Mhm.
So I went on 2 dates in high school, and that was to the girls' choice dances. But it wasn't girls I was going to go out on a second date with. So,
Yeah, yeah. My senior year. I got asked by a girl, and I was told by my mom I'm never allowed to tell a girl no because it takes a lot of courage to ask a guy. And I was like, okay, fine. So this girl was not someone I was interested in. Um, and then she asked me, like at the end of the night, she asked me to be her boyfriend. And I was like, I'm not allowed to tell a girl no. So I dated her for like a week. She cheated on me the entire week. Like I did not understand why she wanted to date me. But we dated for like a week and then broke it off. But yeah, no, it was definitely an awkward situation there because I was told I'm never allowed to tell a girl no. Um, that is terrible advice. You can in fact tell people no. Um, which
If I
actually
would,
will bring me. Go ahead.
if I wouldn't have told like a couple of girls no to dates or made up excuses on why I couldn't go in high school, the type of people they were, my parents would have strung me up by my thumb.
Being in a little Mormon town, we didn't really have girls like that.
Yeah, I did. It wasn't Hickville where I grew up, but it was definitely a lot bigger than where you grew up at.
Yeah, yeah. My school was K through 12. Like the entire school was on one campus, and it was 500 people total. So yeah,
Yeah, my
it was.
graduating class was a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, my the class that I would have graduated with was 40 people. So yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, we had more students per teacher than that. So,
Yeah, yeah. So talking about advice, what advice would you give your younger self?
what age?
Let's just say freshman.
Freshman. Um, I'd say if I had to do it, keep going. Life still can be hard, but put yourself out there, have more fun, maybe take a little bit more risks on doing stuff. I'd definitely say try to build up life skills a lot sooner, trying to learn those, and then also just cherish the friendships that you have. Spend as much time with your friends because a lot of them you'll never see again.
Yeah, that is really good advice.
What about you?
For me, for me, that one is kind of hard because it's like I would probably say to like you put yourself out there more. Um, I had, like I said, I had quite a few like groups that I got adopted into because, um, like just I had like a friend that would be in that group, but I was also the guy who never got like invited to parties because I was quote unquote the goody two shoes. Um, and I feel like if I had kind of put myself out there more and not been so avoidant, I would have probably been invited to those things and I would have had a lot better time. And that I would have probably made not necessarily better choices, but I would have made more fun choices. That because like I didn't even sneak out of the house till I was 18, and that was just to see if I could do it. And that just really confused my mom because I walked in and then I jumped out my window and then like hung out for like an hour and then walked in again. And mom was like, "When did you leave?" So yeah, like I just like you said, take more risks and have fun. Like you're only young once. Hang out with your friends more. Do more. Don't like I love video games and I did back then. And I loved reading and I still do. And I would literally spend all my time in my room just reading or playing video games and I would not want to do that again. I would want to be able to get out and make some different life skills. So,
I can agree with that.
yeah. Um when you were in freshman year, how did you think your life would turn out?
Oh, I thought I was going to be a freaking gajillionaire. I, I thought I was going to be very, very successful, and I life was not going to be the same as it was when I was there, not getting any attention. So, and it was going to be done by me being rich and working with computers somehow.
Okay. I always thought I was gonna be a famous author by now. Um, I have so many ideas. I just have a hard time because I have such bad ADHD. I have a hard time putting them on paper. And so I always swap ideas too much. And so I always thought that I would, settle down and just write my books and that I would be a famous author and everything. But part of me is kind of glad that I'm not a famous author because they get a lot of attention.
Yes, they do.
So yeah, I still want to write, but it's a lot more of a. I don't necessarily care if I get famous now. I just want to write just because it's fun. So
Oh, good for you.
so there's a new Total War coming out.
Yes, there is.
It's going to be a 40K game. Um, I You told me about the trailer like what 2-3 weeks ago, or was it even longer than that?
It's been longer than that. I want to say December 12th was the
Oh wow,
trailer. I said that I sent you the link like right after because I was
you
jumping
did,
around like
you
everywhere, so
did.
giddy.
I think I was at work, so I couldn't watch it, and then I just kept forgetting to watch it. And every time he'd bring it up, I'd be like, "Oh, that sounds so cool! I need to look into this." And then I didn't. I finally watched it today. Holy cow, that looks cool!
Now, did you watch like the hour release on it or just the trailer?
Just the trailer. I
Okay.
need to still watch the hour release. I literally watched it right before we got on.
Oh.
After I messaged you saying I was ready to do this, I turned it on real quick and watched it. Yeah, like I need to watch the hour release. But the trailer looks so good. What news like have they come out with though for it? I know you were talking about like the different factions and stuff, but like what have we found out?
Okay, well, we're gonna have. I can now. I apologize to everybody. I can go on a complete just marathon on this, so reel me back in if I go too far off the edge with
Okay,
it.
we'll do a full episode on this later, but yeah, we want the highlights.
So we're gonna start out with four factions: Eldari, formerly the Eldar, Orcs, Imperial Guard, which are now called Astro Militarum, and Space
Mhm.
Marines. And we know that it's not going to quite be a conventional Total War where there's going to be a galaxy wide map, but we're going to be fighting in more or less what kind of look like sectors. And you'll be doing campaigns in those sectors, which will go into the overall arching campaign. We don't quite know how all of that's going to work quite yet. But we do also know that the races are going to play very, very different. Astro Militarum is supposed to kind of play like a conventional one. You build up your resources, you conquer planets. You have lots of guys. It'll play always as the Imperial Guard does, kind of overwhelming infantry, and then really good tanks and artillery of that sort. Space Marines, you're not going to have a lot of them, but they're going to be really elite troops. Orcs are going to kind of be like the Imperial Guard, just lots of them, lots of guns, and then they're supposed to kind of scavenge for different types of tanks that they might take off on the battlefields. I haven't seen any gameplay for this, but I did hear one of the developers talk about how orcs have really good teleportation technology. So we'll probably see some of that. And then the Eldari are supposed to kind of be kind of more of a cloak and dagger kind of action. And they're supposed to be having their web gates for moving stuff around. Again, we don't totally know all the information. This is one that I can't quite confirm. I've heard different people talk about different things in interviews with it, but and this is just my opinion on it. I don't believe a planet is going to be one battle and you're done. But you'll have to take a planet, and then there'll be several battles that'll kind of go over the planet. So when we are fighting over these sectors, like one of those actually would last the normal, probably shorter to mid-range campaigns. So that's kind of what we know about the game so far. Or the highlights of it.
Okay,
Oh,
that sounds so cool.
and it is also coming not just to PC, but it's also coming to PlayStation and Xbox. We do not know if it's going to be cross-platformed, and they also have promised, just because it is going to consoles, that it's not being watered down to get onto that. So you'll still have
Okay.
in-depth strategies, but we'll see as it gets released.
Yeah. So anyone who's watched my channel knows that I am more of a console gamer, especially now because how I had to set up my computer, the TV is like really high up where I have it right now. So it's kind of a pain in the butt for me to like sit there for hours and like look up. So I am much more of a console gamer. So I'm very excited that it's coming to PlayStation 5. Like, so excited. Also, while my computer is really good and can play Arc, watching that trailer makes me very nervous about my computer being able to run it. My computer is getting old. So,
I am using a laptop that I purchased to be able to play Three Kingdoms on. So my laptop is very much aged, and I don't have the funds right now to replace it. So I will also be getting this for PlayStation because at least it'll be good for a few years. So
yeah. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us again tonight. If you guys have any questions for us or any comments that you'd like to make, please definitely do leave them down below, and subscribe so you can get our next episodes. But as always, until next time, thank you guys so much and have a great night.
thank you, everyone.